What's up, NFL fans, and welcome back to another episode of The Way We See It. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Wesley Coleman, who is back this week. Wesley, what's up? Welcome back.
Thanks. Nice to be here.
Yes, sir. I hope you enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend, and we have a lot to discuss here. And it's not going to be hockey. I see your Dallas Stars hat on. We're not going to talk about that right now, but still, let's talk about the NFL. And there's really not a lot of news right now. This is the downtime. You have some mandatory minicamps coming up. Phase 3 of OTAs is involved in that as well. I want to talk about coaching before we even get to the topic at hand, the title of the podcast. In the NFL, how important do you think coaching is?
So I think it's really important to the few teams that have a great head coach. I think that there's 70% of the league. It's just it's a lot of the coaches are really the same. There's very few incredible head coaches that actually impact wins and losses.
So let's run down a couple of them. Who would fall into that category for you?
I mean, I'll give credit to Sean Payton, who I think is a tremendous leader.
Sure.
He not even talking about what he does on the offensive side. I mean, he gets the best out of players. The situation in Denver last year, nobody expected them to remotely be close to a winning record. Andy Reid. It's maybe hard to give him credit because he does have Patrick Mahomes, but he's won in multiple situations. He's had lots of coordinators leave. He's had teams with less receivers. He's had all kinds of stuff like that. I think that he's done a great job.
Okay.
You got to throw Kyle Shanahan, I think, is one that needs to be thrown in there. And then, you've got the Shanahan brothers, which you can probably debate about what they've done and all, but you at least need to throw them in there as I'm looking for people who have made an impact with less talent. Again, I know Andy Reid's in there and he's got talent, but those kind of guys. What about you? I mean, obviously I joke about all the time, but Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing record in forever and he's changed quarterbacks a few times. Does he belong right off the top? Does he belong in this conversation?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Would you put Sean McVay in that category?
Maybe. I think he's one of the best offensive minds in football. But if we're just talking about his job as a head coach, I'm not sure. He's right there on the cusp for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would say that you have to get the most out of your players. Like, that is the thing for me when I think of an elite head coach. I don't care if you're coaching Patrick Mahomes or if you have a Mason Rudolph. We'll just go there. All right, we have Mason Rudolph. Can you get the best out of your players? And I think a really elite head coach is going to elevate their performance to the point where we're not just talking about winning more than you lose. We're talking about, wow, they got to the playoffs. They actually won a game with that roster. And that's where Steeler fans are hung up. Since you bring up Tomlin, they haven't won a playoff game since 2016. They've been there a bunch, but they're one and done. And there's a lot of people that think that Mike Tomlin is antiquated in terms of how he wants to build a roster, how he wants to win. He's stuck in that early 2000s. We'll win 6-3. I don't care. And in the modern NFL, if you can't put up points, you're going to struggle. You're going to really struggle. And so I think that Mike Tomlin, I would put him on the echelon below elite. And I think we were right with McVay as being like a tweener. He's right in the middle of that. But the topic of at hand, unless you had anything you wanted to add to Mike Tomlin's talk there.
Here's my point on where this comes from. Nick Sirianni was supposed to be fired after 2023.
Yeah.
And then when the 2024 season started, I'm telling you, they were like 2 or 3 minutes away from losing to the Saints. If they had lost to the Saints, he was getting fired. I really believe that. And they did. I think they ended up losing next week. But I don't know if anybody's pounding the table saying that, he's got a 70% winning percentage as a head coach, but I'm not sure how many people are saying that he led them to the Super Bowl last year. And so, I mean, did he all of a sudden become a better coach? I don't think so. I think they had the right amount of talent and some good offensive and defensive coordinators, and it worked out. But
he's lost his coordinators though too.
Now
he's lost them.
Yes,
more than once, because he lost them when Shane Steichen left. He's lost his coordinators. I don't think did he lose his defensive coordinator this past offseason? I don't think so.
No, maybe he lost Kellen Moore.
I know he lost, well, of course. Yeah. But So, okay, where do you put Sirianni? I don't even know
Towards
what the
the
hell the guy
bottom.
does. I don't know where
Towards
he,
the bottom.
I don't know what he does, but he's won a Super Bowl.
Every time he flashes when he's actually making a head coaching decision, it's typically a mistake. He's made so many boneheaded calls at the end of games or throughout games of when to go for field goals and when to go for it on fourth down. And if it wasn't for the tush push, I'm not sure if he'd have a winning record.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I didn't think of it. I think it's hysterical when someone said that Nick Sirianni looks like a fan that got to the opportunity to like be a coach for a week. And that's what he looks like on the sideline. Like it just doesn't look like he belongs.
I do want to ask you one question. What do you think about somebody like Dan Campbell, who I don't know how you're going to talk about how good he um, offensive or defensive side. I mean, he was a tight ends coach with the Saints and all, but this is a guy who inspires people. He went from, I think his first season, they won one game, but they like 8 of the games were one possession games. And now to like being a, NFC championship contender every year. What do you think about a coach like that, maybe he doesn't help you on the offensive or defensive side of the ball, but he just inspires everybody?
Well, let me answer your question with a question, and it's just a follow-up. Is it fair to say we'll know more about Dan Campbell in 2025 after he lost both of his coordinators?
It's fair. Also, though, he's the one that found Aaron Glenn and Ben
Fair,
Johnson when
yes.
nobody else cared about him. Like
Not disagree at all.
a lot of stuff that he did of bringing in former players and then the right people. Now, I'm going to give him credit for, for finding those guys. But now this is the real, like, are you a long-term, are you a Bill Belichick, someday type of head coach, or are you the guy that he was good and like he's always excited, but like, can you do it again? That's
Right.
what's the real sign here.
I would say that right now, the way I view Dan Campbell is the way I view Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin is a hell of a motivator. He does it different, but he knows how to motivate players. He knows how to get players to buy in. Hell, just watch some of Hard Knocks of last year in the end season. You saw Mike Tomlin. He knows how to speak to these players as adults and to get them to buy into doesn't mean they're always going to win, clearly, but he is a very good motivator. I think that Mike Tomlin's failures are on the roster building side and his overall thoughts on how to win in the modern day NFL. But from a motivation standpoint, I would put Mike Tomlin in that upper tier, that upper echelon, and Dan Campbell would be there too.
When you
I
say
would
how
say
to win in this modern day NFL, do you mean with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, or is you talking about
well,
something else?
after his media tour ends up, we'll figure out what he's going to do. I don't know at this time, but what about Dan Quinn? Second time
I
coach.
was going to bring him up too. He was I believe the last head coach hired last year, and nobody liked the hire for the
Correct.
Commanders. Like, no, everybody's like, well, there's just somebody to run the team for a year until they get their new quarterback and the new owner gets settled, and then they fire him. And I mean, again, good defensive mind, but what he did on the offensive side of the ball for that team, just inspiring the team's pretty dang impressive. And he also, if you're the last head coach hired, you're picking from the scraps on your coordinators. I mean, he got Kingsbury to come out of, is it called retirement when you're still getting paid $10 million a year? I don't know, but
He's in like Thailand doing Lord knows what.
I mean, I mean, so I would give. I mean, you got to see it again, but I would give Dan Quinn some hella credit for what he just did. And now again, Dan Quinn in his first run with the Falcons, one of the worst head coaches. I mean, made boneheaded decisions and was just awful. So it would be a big career arc change for him to have success now, successfully in a few years.
All right, so let's shift gears because I do think it's important. I think coaching is still important. It just looks different. But the question on the topic for today's podcast is which NFL coaches, in your opinion, are truly innovative? It's a copycat league. We all know that. One guy does something and it's successful, and then other teams follow suit. That doesn't mean that they can do that effectively. Just look at the tush push. Philly has mastered it. Buffalo tried it, not as successful. Other teams have tried it, not as successful. In your opinion, I think in the criteria that I would put down to when we talk about this is it doesn't have to be a head coach. It can be a coordinator. And so let's just focus on head coaches and or coordinators. One of those three considering offensive and defensive coordinator. When you think of innovative head coach currently in the league, I'm not talking about Bill Walsh and the West Coast offense back in the 90s. I'm talking about right now. Who do you think of when you think about innovative coaches?
I mean, one, I think you've got to throw McVay in there pretty early on, um, with the way that he coached up and like basically treated his quarterback like a puppet and talked to him right up until the, is it 14 or 16 seconds that the microphone cuts off. And just what he did, what he's done with an offense and the motion and stuff like that is, it's incredible. It still is really hard to defend. He's changed out quarterbacks and players. I'm going to put him up there first of all. Is just what he's done on the offensive side of the ball is pretty crazy.
Okay, so that's fair. Now, my question for you, the follow up is, do you think that the tree, we all talk about coaching trees, right? But people say this is a Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. This is a Sean McVay coaching tree. Are they naturally not as innovative because they're going to build their system off of what someone else did? I mean, everything is going to build off of what the founding fathers of the NFL and the modern day football look like. But like the Dolphins head coach, what is it? Mike McDaniels, right?
McDaniel. You got to put
Yeah.
him in there too. They're the Dolphins and Rams are the two that do the most pre-snap motion in the NFL.
Yes, but aren't they from the Shanahan tree?
Yes.
So would you say that Kyle Shanahan is also a super innovative coach?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's where the kind of the Shanahan and Harbaugh stuff kind of becomes next as far as what you're looking for out of those guys. But yeah, Shanahan for sure.
Okay.
I mean,
What were you gonna say?
well, I was just gonna say, I mean, it also becomes a thing of where talent does make you seem more maybe super innovative when you end up lucky, having the best running back or the best couple of the best wide receivers or the best offensive line in football. It all matters. I think it's going to be a big test of the Shanahan success to see this year what happens with a quarterback like Brock Purdy. And like, even if Christian McCaffrey's healthy, he doesn't have the same receivers around him and dynamic players, just three of them. So what's going to happen there? Like, how innovative can it be?
And it's something like Mike McDaniel's down in Miami. Well, you can run your little wheel motion with Tyreek Hill. The guy he calls himself the cheetah for a reason. Like, he's one of the fastest guys in the league. And so can everyone do that? No. I'm going to say that I think Andy Reid's pretty innovative. I know he has Patrick Mahomes, but when you see some of the things they do, even as silly as what was it? They came out in the huddle and they were like kind of motioning in a circle, like a whirlpool almost. And then they run to the line. I think that's innovative. No one else is doing that. And maybe it's Andy Reid giving the players the green light to think of something creative and different. I'm okay with it. I think a coach has to give players some leeway. Where do you put Andy Reid in terms of offensive coaches?
Yeah, I think that you've got to put him up there for sure. I mean, and it's pretty cool that some of the like ridiculous plays like you're talking about and just silly things that you would expect to come from a younger coach, and that you would never think of, like Bill Belichick would never allow his team to do something that silly. But Andy Reid at his age and end of his career is still willing to like take a risk and do stuff that's way outside of that you could have never even thought of doing in the 70s or 80s, when he was coaching. So I think that's a big thing, is being able to change with the times and be innovative a second time, because Andy Reid maybe has been innovative in a few different decades as an NFL coach.
I agree with you. I think the challenge here, we can rattle off offensive coaches all the time, but defensive coaches is different. Innovative defensive coaches don't come around as often because I feel like it's a cat and mouse game, and they're always trying to catch up to what the offense is doing. So, for instance, right now, with the pass happy league, inside linebackers have become really light. They've become more sideline to sideline, more athletic. You don't see those bruisers in the middle that we saw in the 90s and the early 2000s. Let me ask you this question. Would you say, I know he's not in the league anymore, but Bill Belichick, would you say he was innovative as a defensive coach?
Yeah. I mean, what he did as far as identifying the strength, the one thing that the offense couldn't be successful without, and being able to take away that one thing, to make he made the offense struggle to do something new, I think is as good as we've ever seen in football.
Yeah.
And he did it with multiple different And again, you want to talk about doing it over and over again with different players. He got, as soon as somebody figured out what they were worth and wanted to have a bigger contract, they got rid of them. And they drafted terribly and they didn't keep free agents very much, but he always found a way to again take away the number one strength of the opposing team.
I think in today's NFL, since Belichick is not there, and I agree everything you said, Steve Spagnuolo is going to come up, and they're going to say, "Well, Steve Spagnuolo, is he innovative?" I don't know if he's innovative. I think he's just ridiculously aggressive, and I don't think that's necessarily innovative. Innovative would be if I go back in time. Dick LeBeau's outside zone blitz in the 3-4 scheme was innovative. No one had ever seen that before in the mid 90s when he did it at Pittsburgh and then reinvented himself in the early 2000s with the Steelers as well. Do you think Spagnuolo would be innovative in your opinion?
I mean, he's had so much success. I mean,
Yeah,
you sit there and I'll tell you that what Rob Ryan can call a whole bunch of blitzes and not have any success. So Steve Spagnuolo calling the blitzes and having
that's
success,
true.
there's obviously some sort of difference to it. And I, again, just shout out to Buddy Ryan, who actually was the first one to come up with the 4-6 defense that when he was the Bears defensive coordinator. And that was, I mean, a huge different thing back then. That was a blitz heavy approach that had success with it. So I'm going to give Spagnuolo some. Now, again, he's also had down years. Spagnuolo has been a defensive coordinator on bad teams too. And I just want to ask you, what about Tony Dungy in the Tampa 2? I mean, we're
That's
talking
it.
about
I mean, if you're talking about the innovative style of the history of the league, I think Tampa 2 defense and that cover scheme is absolutely innovative. And no one had ever done that before. And now you have cover 2 beaters and stuff like that, and offenses have adjusted. But I think it's much more difficult to think about defensive coaches. You bring up Buddy Ryan, that's a good one. I brought up Dick LeBeau. I think that he was innovative.
what about
Really
Vic
tough.
Fangio of the Eagles, the Super Bowl champion Eagles, and what he's done has been pretty great.
Talk about a guy, and he's not the only one, failed as a head coach, but boy, are they a good coordinator.
Man.
Like that's Spagnuolo too. Like
But then
that's
you got Dan
Spagnuolo.
Quinn, who did that same thing and is now coming back as maybe as a good head coach. I mean, there could be a route back.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. You
I,
got to have
I,
the right opportunity.
I want to say in this conversation too, I know we kind of went away from offensive, but it's on both sides, is I want to give some credit to, again, Sean Payton for what he did with the Broncos last year, who had the number 1, number 2 defense for most of the year. But he didn't get, him and Drew Brees both took credit away from each other for they happened to come to New Orleans at the same time. And it worked out that way. But I think Sean Payton is an incredible offensive mind. And I think he proved that by taking Bo Nix last year and making him an average starter, at least as a rookie, when nobody thought Bo Nix was a first round draft pick. He was the last of the first round quarterbacks to be taken. And while having a great defense that Sean Payton has had, also like, making it on offense and finding ways to have Bo Nix protected and also minimize his mistakes that I think would have been numerous if he was on another team last year.
You got to give credit where credit's due. And it's not a situation where go back to, I think, and Jaden Daniels was close, but the best rookie quarterback season of all time is Ben Roethlisberger in 2004. And why? That team was built. It was like, look, man, just don't F it up. Like, just give the ball to Jerome Bettis. Deuce Staley was on the Steelers at the time. And then let's just manipulate things and let our defense do their thing. Bo Nix and that Denver defense was good, but that team struggled the year before that. And so I think, yeah, credit where credit's due. And so this is an interesting discussion. I don't think we can leave it open-ended in terms of NFL coaches that are truly innovative. And I'm sure we're leaving some people out, but at the same time, it's a worthwhile offseason discussion, in my opinion. I want to get your take on something else, Wesley. This has been making the rounds since the last time we spoke. It's became official that the NFL is going to allow, I think, one representative from each team to be a viable option for the United States of America in the 2028 Olympics. And there's a guy, his name is Darnell Doucette III, and he plays for USA flag football. He is a quarterback. And his quote was, "This is a sport that we've played for a long time, and we feel like we are the best at it, and we don't need other guys." End quote. Other guys, meaning NFL players. Now, I was not aware that the USA had an official flag football team. Apparently
We
they do. And
we
apparently
do
this
now.
guy
It
is
starts in
QB1.
2028. Oh, you're
So,
talking about the adult one.
so you're telling me that someone like Lamar Jackson says, I want to be the quarterback for the USA flag football team, that we're supposed to say, I'm sorry, buddy, Lamar, you're great. You're super athletic, but Darnell's here. Thanks, but no thanks. What's your take on this guy? I get him wanting respect for doing what he does, but I feel like this is a little out of left field.
Yeah, I mean, if you just take any sport and you say like we're now going to allow professional athletes to do it, I mean, the other people that were playing the sport, it's over. I
Right.
mean, it's like, I'm sorry. There's a reason that guy isn't in the NFL, and I'm sure there's multiple ones of them, but part of that is that, I'm sure let's let him try out. Like he can go out there and throw the ball against Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson if he wants, and then we can put flags on him and have. Again, that guy, once he gets out there and it's I don't know, Travis Hunter and Micah Parsons trying to catch his flag, he's not going to want to be out there anymore either.
No.
I mean,
I compare this to, and you got to go back, and everyone should know, if you haven't seen this movie, my gosh, wake up, get out of your coma, and go watch the movie Miracle. All right, it's a phenomenal movie. It's a true story about the 1980 Olympic team. And what you need to know is not the story about, do you believe in miracles? Yes, the Al Michaels call when they beat the Russian team was that no professional hockey players were allowed to play on the Olympic team. And once they changed that ruling, everything just didn't feel the same. You didn't have that really close knit, these college kids that were just bonding together as Team USA. So once the Olympic Committee, I'm assuming they had to say that NFL players are allowed to participate for their respective countries, it kind of throws everything else out the window. My next question was, what other countries are going to be represented outside the U.S.? Like Chase Claypool is going to play for Canada. That's great. But other than that, like, what other countries are we talking about here?
I mean, there's going to be like this second level of players that have a parent from another country that's
True.
what they're going to go represent because they know they're not going to be one of the 10 people that plays for the U.S. team. I mean, again, again, I will say that this flag football is different than regular football. I think it's going to take an adjustment for everybody. It wasn't that long ago that we just said that no other country had any chance at remotely competing with the USA in basketball.
That's true.
And this is a different sport. So I obviously I don't think there's going to be a lot of Europeans all of a sudden showing up in the NFL, but I think there's going to be, maybe not for in 2028. It's going to be a bad blowout. It's going to be really, really ugly.
Just think about the quarterback options in and of itself. I mean, outside of Darnell, to set the third, respect, but you have like Jalen Hurts, you have Lamar Jackson, you've got Jaden Daniels. Just think of someone like Aaron Donald, who's still in phenomenal shape, by the way, says, I want to come out. Let's play some Olympic flag football. Could you imagine some European kid from Italy and he's lined up across from Aaron Donald?
There's no blocking. So it's not.
Oh, so we're talking like this is. I played adult league. I played adult league flag football after college and through college, and it was basically live blocking on the line.
No. I believe the rushers just have a count of here's how long the quarterback has the ball. So that's why I was talking about
Mississippi rush, like when you were a kid.
Travis Hunter and Micah Parsons and Nolan Smith Jr., just huge, super fast guys, is bearing down. But I mean, you think about, Devin Achane, like he's already hard enough to tackle when you can touch it, but like in flag football against people that aren't NFL players. And I think that what gets lost in this all the time, and I'll always say is like whatever guy you went to high school with that was the football player that made everybody else look stupid. There's a guy in the NFL 15 years older than him, 1 foot taller than him, that weighs 100 pounds more than him, that can do all the same stuff he can do.
Yeah.
Like there's just incredible levels to this stuff. And so again, Jameer Gibbs, you can't barely tackle him as it is. You think
I
you're
know.
going to catch his flag? Like, there's going to be some really like stupid things.
Well, what I want to see is how is the United States going to pick their team? That's
Yeah,
what I
that's
want
going
to
to be
know.
tough.
How are you going to choose between the quarterbacks I just mentioned? Not Darnell Doucette the third, respect, but between Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, and anyone else that would want to be in the mix as well. I mean, Spencer Rattler, put your name in there, sure, go for it. I mean, Tyler Shuck, sure, why
Whatever is
not?
yeah, anybody. Actually, by that time you start putting. I mean, thinking. I mean, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Travis Hunter as your receivers.
Yeah,
I mean, just what are you gonna do? One, it doesn't matter about the flag because they're going to be 17 yards past you when they
yeah.
catch the ball. Like actually the quarterback being, it doesn't even matter who the quarterback is because they're not going to have to worry about holding on the ball, waiting for separation. There's immediate separation as soon as the ball snaps. Like that, whatever 3 or 5 seconds, however long is before you can rush. Who cares? You're never
Hey,
going to rush that person.
an idea that you'll love. This is like your fever dream. Is what if the United States said, I'll tell you what, we feel bad for the other countries. So what we're going to do is we'll only have players on our US team that went to LSU and they would
Perfect.
still win by 200.
Yeah, you just get the 2019 team back together.
You'd have Joe Burrow, quarterback, Jamar Chase.
It'd be great.
It would be freaking stacked. You'd have Patrick Queen at inside linebacker if you needed him.
And to be fair, you could just take a college,
Absolutely.
one of the top college teams, and go win the gold medal in this.
Yes. It's worth a discussion. We were going to talk about something else. We're going to push it back to next week. Next week, we're going to start diving into divisions about how what teams have done what, who's improved themselves, who's kind of stagnant. We'll start that next week. But speaking of which, when you grew up, you played pickup football, right?
Yep.
Did you guys do 10 Mississippi Rush? Where you had to count 10 Mississippi?
It wasn't 10 Mississippi. I think it was more 5 or something like
So you
that.
did 5 Mississippi. Okay.
Something like that.
Our linguistics where I grew up, 10 Mississippi was basically 5 seconds because it's 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi.
Oh no, I'm thinking it was 5.
Fair enough. All right, man.
One thing that we didn't, we kind of beat around. We talked about hockey. We talked about gold medals. The U.S. hockey team did win their first gold medal at the World Championship since 1933, beating Switzerland 1-0 in overtime. So that was kind of cool. That
Canada got upset. That's why that happened.
Man.
Canada got upset. But I hope everyone out there enjoyed their Memorial Day weekend. I hope everyone's enjoying this time in sports, which it is an exciting time when you talk about the hockey playoffs, the basketball postseason going on. Hope you are checking that out. Wesley, I know that your Dallas Stars are in the mix, but why don't you let us know where they can find you on social media and all that good stuff?
You can find me on X at Wesley13. You can find me on the Dome Patrol podcast. It's at Dome Patrol PCast. By the way, speaking of X, Steelers fans need to have a sense of humor. Made a joke the other day and somebody spent 20 minutes making screenshots and retorting what I said. I know that TJ Watt's not 47 years old, but my goodness.
So you're telling me even when I responded
about
with
no sense of humor up there in Pittsburgh. It's the summertime. Is it summer up there yet?
No, they way too serious, man. Like they literally can't laugh at all. That's why I responded with, no, he's 46, he'll be 47 this season. And they just don't get it. It's like, come on, people, lighten up.
Where can we find you on X and your social medias?
Yeah, so at J Hartman HARTMAN_PIT. We'll talk that. Golf. Wesley's always in the comments, so go and check it out. Other than that, you can check out SteelCurtainNetwork.com and Steel Curtain Network wherever you get your podcast. But that's it. That's a wrap. Welcome back, Wesley. We'll talk next week, man. Take it easy.
Thanks, man. Have a good week.